What's up guys, Asian here again with another theory crafting video, and it's going to be about stamina and DPS today. So we're talking about sets that are going to potentially replace Ravager specifically for certain stamina DPS tunes. So why are we suddenly have to replace Ravager as a potential set? This is mainly because of changes that were made in the PTS patch 4.2.3, where they fixed how Relequen was proccing certain sets. So right now on live, Relequen is proccing melee damage proc sets. So that's things like Selene and Ravagers. But on 4.2.3 on the PTS, which is going to go live next Monday, this following Monday, Relequen will no longer proc anything that procs off of melee damage. So Selene's will no longer proc off of Relequens, and Ravager will no longer proc off of Relequens. So that naturally raises the question of, is there going to be another set that's going to be as strong as Ravager, or maybe replace Ravager for those classes where Ravager used to be one of the strongest sets that you could use. So those would be classes like the Stamplar, for example. Now, I did all of these tests today on a Stamina Warden, just because Stamina Warden does look like it's going to be one of the strongest classes in the game right now, and it also doesn't have any sort of crit damage modifier, so I kind of wanted to see how it would play out on a non-Nightblade or a non-Templar. Without further ado, I'm just going to quickly go over the sets that I used and kind of the methodology, and then I'll go straight into the numbers. So I am on a Stamina Warden, and we just kept the rotation exactly the same the whole time here. So I will have a video on the rotation in a little bit. I'm still playing around with a couple of variations here and there with skill placements and things, particularly on the bow bar. So this particular rotation that I used is probably not going to be final, but it is probably going to be it's a very easy rotation, so I might just stick with it, even if another more efficient rotation pushes a little bit more DPS that way. So I kept the same rotation. In terms of gear, I just did 2-piece Veiled just because Selene is no longer proccing off of Relequen, so Veiled comes out a little bit ahead again. Relequen, obviously, and then we just changed out our jewelry and our weapons. So you can see here I tested 4 sets in total. So I tested out Leviathan, then I tested out Briarheart, Advancing Yokeda, and Veiled Heritance. So just quickly going over each of these 4 different sets and why they might be useful or powerful. So Leviathan is pretty much the stamina version of Mother's Sorrow. This is a set that I've heard a lot of people ask me about. Why is Advancing Yokeda so good but not Leviathan? So one of the reasons why Leviathan might not be as strong is because it is a static boost compared to a like a proc set. So basically, when we swap to our back bar here, you can see here that I don't have the 4 and 5 piece active, and it is only active while we're on our dual wield bar. This is different from an Advancing Yokeda, where it is essentially a proc, so it will carry over to your back bar for as however long that proc lasts. So while we're on our back bar, we're still maintaining that additional crit that we have on our front bar here, that we built up on our front bar. Leviathan is a medium armor set, and you can farm it. It is a dungeon set. I don't remember offhand which dungeon it comes from. I want to say it's Crypt of Hearts, but I might be misremembering. It's either Crypt of Hearts or Wayrest Sewers, but it's one of those two. So you can farm it. It's pretty easy to farm. It is a medium armor set, so you can kind of mix and match. You will need to get the double daggers because Relequen, you still want Relequen on your body, but you can mix and match body pieces and jewelry pieces of Leviathan and Relequen that way. Briarheart is another medium armor set that is a dropped set from Hrothgar, so you can purchase this off of guild traders, or you can farm it if you have access to the Orsinium DLC. So this one is a proc set, so it will carry over to your back bar here, so that makes it a little bit stronger than Hunding. So it's very similar to kind of the Leviathan Advanced Yokeda comparison, where because Hunding's Rage is a flat bonus, you will lose the 4 and 5 piece while you're on your back bar, but because Briarheart is a proc bonus, if the proc is still active on your back bar, you'll still have that additional weapon damage. In addition, you also get a little bit of additional heal whenever you crit when using Briarheart, so that just helps out your survivability a little bit here. The other sets, Advanced Yokeda, this is your pretty typical set here. So it is a heavy armor set, so you will need to use jewelry and 2 weapons. And this does come from Hel Ra Citadel only, so you will have to transmute the jewelry and you will have to farm it using a trials. So I recommend doing it on normal if you're farming it, just because it is a unique set to Hel Ra. It has a little bit higher drop rate on normal compared to vet, but you will need to get the gold jewelry, so you will have to run it on vet if you don't want to spend an obscene amount of money upgrading blue jewelry all the way up to gold. This is pretty tried and true for a while, ever since Somerset came out. And then finally we have Veiled Heritance. So Veiled Heritance is a heavy armor set that is dropped from Auradon, so anybody can farm it if you'd like, or you can purchase it off of guild traders. So Veiled Heritance is a heavy armor set, so you will need to transmute the jewelry, and it does have a odd 3-piece. It has physical resistance as a 3-piece, so you are basically losing out on one of your set bonuses. Ravager had a 3-piece of max health, which helped out a little bit because then you don't have to run a health enchants or points into health in order to get to a good appropriate level of health for vet content. So that kind of helped out a little bit, but this physical resistance is a little bit less useful compared to that max health. It still definitely provides some additional survivability for stamina DPS, but overall it doesn't really contribute to DPS all too much. So you are basically losing one set bonus with Veiled Heritance. So Veiled Heritance, whenever you deal damage, you have 10% chance to increase your weapon damage by 400 for 5 seconds. As far as we've tested, it doesn't have a cooldown, so you're able to proc it every second if you are lucky enough with RNG. And it does proc off of any damage, so Relequen will proc Veiled Heritance, which is why it came up as a potential alternative to Ravager, because Ravager has a proc chance condition of only melee damage. So that's pretty much all the sets here. You'll notice that all of my jewelry pieces are bloodthirsty and all have weapon damage enchant, so everything again remained exactly the same. The only thing I changed out was the jewelry and the weapons for these sets here. Now moving over to our actual numbers now. So here are our numbers here. So we have Advancing Yokeda, Briarheart, Veiled Heritance, and Leviathan. So we did have one weird part here with Leviathan that was a little bit higher than the rest, but it pretty much the standard deviation pretty much fell pretty much in line with everything. So we're just going to keep that there as kind of a ceiling with Leviathan here. So we do see here that Advancing Yokeda wins out here. So the additional crit chance still definitely helps in terms of DPS. And then Briarheart here and Veiled Heritance did have lower DPS, with Veiled Heritance beating up Briarheart by a little bit here, by about 100 DPS. And Leviathan came in last with 47.6k compared to Briarheart's 48.1k, so it's about a 500 DPS difference. And here we have the percentage difference here, so Advancing Yokeda is only 1.5 to 1.2% stronger than Briarheart and Veiled Heritance respectively, and 2.6% stronger than Leviathan, again because Advancing Yokeda carries over to your back bar versus Leviathan, which you lose while you're on your back bar there. So that additional uptime on that additional crit chance played a pretty large difference in terms of relative difference in DPS here. So overall, it does seem like Veiled Heritance is going to be a pretty good set to pick up if you are farming for Advancing Yokeda. I do believe that Advancing Yokeda is still going to be the strongest set for any class that was already using Advancing Yokeda. So that would be some things like your Stam Nightblade, and I believe Stam Wardens were using it to pretty good effect as well prior to this patch, and Stamina Templars were using it to pretty good effect as well. So this is really going to affect your Sam Sorks, your Stam DKs, and your Stamplars. Those were the 3 classes that could use Ravager instead of Advancing Yokeda and not lose that much DPS. So if you still haven't farmed up Advancing Yokeda on any of those 3 classes, then you might want to consider picking up Veiled Heritance or Briarheart instead. Those 2 sets are purchasable off of guild traders, so it's just going to be trying to find daggers, infused daggers off of guild traders, or just trying to find any daggers off guild traders so you can transmute them to infuse later on down the line. So it does seem like Ravager is kind of out of the running when it comes to Stam sets. It's still not a bad set. From what I've heard, Stamplars are still using Ravager to pretty good effect here, but it's no longer very good on any other Stam class. So the only reason why it's pretty decent on the Stamplar is because jabs still count as melee damage, so you have a little bit of additional chances to proc Ravager compared to some other classes here. So for example, on the Stamina Warden, because Subterranean Assault and Birds do not count as melee damage, you don't have any really additional chances to proc Ravager that way. So that's why Veiled Heritance is going to be a little bit stronger than Ravager on a Stamina Warden. So that is it for this video. Hope you guys found this informative, and I will see you guys in the next dungeon.